really good dating advice all often comes off as a disadvantage for women. So saying it publicly now, I'm not talking about the view specifically, but that kind of content creator now criticizes you. Who hurt you, bro? What's wrong with you, bro? Because you do stuff like that.
Why is it that less accurate dating information is more mainstream? Like there, like I don't know.
There's a really easy
some
answer.
guy with who wears a cowboy hat.
Fuck. Oh no. I thought you were talking about that Chris GQ Perry loser. I thought that's what you were talking about.
There's a really easy answer for this, because good dating advice involves hard work. It involves you putting yourself out there. It involves getting rejected, versus bad dating advice is a lot easier. It's just like, just sit around and focus on yourself, and the girls will come to you. Like, which one of those do you think is like more?
There's one more part to this. If you teach really good dating advice, you are putting your friend at an advantage and the woman sometimes at a disadvantage. So if I had a couple of women, there's a podcast right now called Kill All Women. And you guys remember the first season of Call Her Daddy. They had all these ways where women would deliberately manipulate and mislead men in order to get them to chase more. And for us as men, that would sound toxic. If I go to Austin, I'm like, hey, Austin, here's an idea. The next day after you go on a date with her, just don't call her back the next day and wait for her to call you and be like, maybe that's a good strategy. Forget about the actual strategy. But when I explain the strategy to women, it's going to sound toxic. So that's why Chris Williamson can never say things like that. Does that make sense? Really good dating advice all often comes off as a disadvantage for women. So saying it publicly now, I'm not talking about the view specifically, but that kind of content creator now criticizes you. Who hurt you, bro? What's wrong with you, bro? Because you do stuff like that. Even when Marcus comes on and he talks about really good information about escalation, put in the wrong person's ear, that comes off as toxic and manipulative. And that's the reason why good dating advice is often shunned.
Yeah, like the optimal dating for women, it puts men at a disadvantage, and then the optimal dating for men puts women at a disadvantage.
By the way, well, also that's not theoretical. If you read evolutionary psychology textbooks, it talks about this specific. It's called the Red Queen. This paradox of Matt Ridley's book, The Red Queen. It talks about this paradox. As men want more sexual access, women will discern which man is lying. As women get better at determining which man lies, men get better at lying. And as men get better at lying, women get even better at determining which man lies. And it goes back and forth. It's like this evolutionary arms race throughout history that goes on. And as one gender starts to have more of an advantage, then the other gender has more of a disadvantage. But there's always some level of balance, no matter where you go to. But if you start giving men just fucking crushing advice, like you guys have seen that parallel live shit where the guy walks around and it looks like there's 50,000 people watching him on a live stream. That shit works, and it's incredibly toxic. But at the same time, like, who's really to blame here? Like, is it the guy to blame because he's got a video that looks like 50,000 people are watching him, or these shallow ass women who are cheating on their fucking boyfriends? Who is actually to blame here? You know what I'm saying?
So who lies more, men or women?
I don't know how much I agree with.
I'm so attracted to you, Austin. I'm so attracted to you right now.
I don't know how much I agree with the idea that really good dating advice. I see your points, but I don't know if I agree that really good dating
Some of it.
Yeah, but I think, like, okay, the argument I would make, this is the argument I've made like many times before, is that kind of advice is typically we're talking about like what's the term, Machiavellian type of strategies that they come back to bite you in the ass later.
I don't think it's Machiavellian, bro. Not giving a woman a ton of attention up front when women are like, I am the table. I want a man who brings me flowers on the first date. And your advice is, hey, bro, I probably wouldn't do that on the first date. That's not Machiavellian, bro. That's just standing up for yourself. You as
that's not what I had in mind.
Listen to that fucking cuck, Chris GQ Perry. He sits there talking about, I can't believe all these men think that they're the prize. You guys aren't the prize. You should understand that women are the prize. You guys aren't man enough to step up and take care of a single mother. This is a million likes a post. This fucking guy gets a million likes a post. When you give actual contrary evidence to what he's saying and actually show the data, then you get looked at as who hurt you, bro? You're a misogynist. I disagree, Alex. I think if you give really solid dating advice to the general population, they like, why are you trying so hard, bro? Just be good looking.
Some of them
stand in the corner. Yeah. I think a lot of them. I think it's getting progressively worse.
If you get a chance to explain the really good dating advice to most women, I think they're completely okay with it. The problem is when you get clipped. The problem if it's just this one little idea, and then when we're like, hang on, that's all. You just got some like fucking leftist fucking feminist women that are just going to hate any piece of advice, right? But I think for the most part, if you just get the chance to explain why you're doing this and how it works and what your goal is, That's what matters. And then obviously you've got the guys that are just fucking dirtbags and are like, oh yeah, if a girl gives you this objection, just tell her girlfriend and just go cheat on her, and it's totally fine. Women like to be cheated on. Like, obviously that's rubbish, but yeah, I think like you just need the chance to fucking explain to women what we're actually teaching men. And from my experience, when they've actually heard it and gone through it, and you see this on Alex's show, right? He's got a bunch of girls that come on here for speed dating. Is a lot of them support it, like they agree with it, and it's good, and it's good to help men to learn to be more socially calibrated. So
yeah, if you watch my initial debate with Ashley, it's a prime example of that, because Ashley, most of you guys know Ashley's my friend, but initially we met on TikTok, and she wanted to debate me because she thought I was like toxic and I gave bad toxic advice. And then when I like took the time to explain to her, but the person has to be willing to at least somewhat listen. But when I explained to her, she's like, "Oh, this is like really good stuff. Like actually, if men learn this stuff, that would actually make it better for women." Because, you know, we don't like, you know, when guys make cringy mistakes. We don't like that either. So, but the person has to be willing to at least somewhat listen. Yeah. If they're just like bad, like you can't really like reach them.
Scotty, what do you think on this, man?
I mean, I think there's a trade-off a little bit from back in the day. I think 2008, I took my first boot camp. It was like, you know, we didn't have all the phones and stuff like that. We weren't filming guys and breaking down all their sets, but I don't know. It's a little bit like they could be like over analysis. What is that word? Analysis by paralysis. If there's too much shit out there, there's just oversaturated, tons and tons of stuff. I feel like there was a lot less obstacles, and you would just have to, you know, you were only faced with that one challenge. Either you're going to cold approach, or you don't have really an option of anything else. So in that way, it was very to the point. But as far as women go, I think, you know, yeah, I think what they find really cringe is like all the canned lines, which I feel like a lot of the dating advice is getting away from. But when they go over, like, you know, Brad P would go over the horse girl, you know, all these canned lines back to back transitioning. It was like, I think they get bothered by the made up canned lines and shit like that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but that's not even something that guys who are good at game teach. Like, I don't think anyone's going to be like, who actually really gets laid is pushing like just like 80-90% canned lines. I think like we largely agree that there's some it's good to have a few like kind of canned lines of dealing with concerns, or maybe like a story or two, but I think all of us rely mostly on just like natural game, like just saying, like having the right internal fundamentals, and then just going off that, like kind of freestyling it.
Wasn't that Mystery's whole thing? I don't know too much about Mystery, but wasn't Mystery all about like line after line?
But Mystery was like a very pioneer for his day, but he no longer is. I mean, he's like kind of faded. I mean, look, I like Mystery, but he's not like at the forefront of
what Eric was doing back then was probably the best thing you could have done back then, with knowing what they knew back then.
Yeah,
if that makes any sense.
I agree with that. Yeah,
but like for the technology that was available, I think it was good. Like my buddy Justin Waller, he has this saying. He goes, "Don't be harsh on your father. Your dad did not have the ability to teach you about women anywhere near to what you know about women now." And it's the same kind of thing. Like Eric had no one before him to kind of like really help him. So whatever he came up with, I applaud him for it.
No, for sure. It's like shitting on George Washington for having a slave. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
And a lot of the dating coaches right after kind of piggybacked off of his stuff and just were using that like a lot of his shit, a lot of the canned openers, because that's what the students want. They're always demanding, what's the next line? What was it you said to that girl that got the thing? So in a way, it was a good marketing ploy, you know?
Yeah, but gotta break them out of it. Go ahead, Marcus.
Yeah, I'm probably the most pro canned line person here, I'd say. I think there is actually a lot of benefit to it. I think the problem becomes when students just rely on it. They don't use it to understand the principles, and it just all sounds robotic. They don't use it as a way to actually captivate how you should say something. Because I think the benefit of a canned line, if we just take the open, for example, now it allows a student, okay, you only got so much processing power. This is stressful. Like, what the fuck's going on? Just this is the thing you're going to say. You don't have to worry about the content. Now let's focus on how does the girl respond? How are you going to say it with speaking louder? How are you going to do all this? And then I think over time, it teaches you the principles. And really at the end game should be all of this is a canned structure, we could say. It's canned responses, we could say. But the actual content that comes out of your mouth is just going to like fit those principles, and it's going to be, made up on the spot a little bit.
But I feel
like a great... Yeah, go on.
You know what I'm saying? Canned line, it still beats them not approaching. And a lot of times, like what Marcus is saying, sometimes you have a guy who just can't be himself. He doesn't feel the permission he feels imposter syndrome going up to a woman that's prettier than anyone he's ever talked to. So if you give him a canned line, that's definitely better than nothing. I absolutely agree.
Marcus,
like some of my favorite, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think you're almost like doing yourself a disservice. Like you guys have, I'm pretty familiar with your guys' style of game, which by the way, I think is really good. But you guys rely on like more of like general like routines, like, oh, I'm going to give her the sex coach routine, but you guys don't copy lines verbatim. I've never seen you guys just like, okay, here's the script I'm going to read off. So I think you guys have a very, very strong general direction. Okay, I'm gonna do the sex coach routine. If she gives me this objection, I'm gonna go with this. But it's more of like a general, like I guess, like plan rather than like a concrete set of lines.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I guess it's probably like can structure or can plan with maybe some like lines as backup for the guys like training wheels. But yeah, you're right. It's not here like mystery style where it's like word for word. This is the thing, then this is the thing. It's obviously. But yeah, thanks for the clarification.
Yeah, no worries.